Hello and welcome to this class. Um, Today we are continuing with our Revit tutorials. We've done presentation drawings last week. We stopped at our south elevation. I'm still expecting the submission of the assignments I gave, but this is just a breakdown of what we did last week and where we are with the tutorials. So what we'll be looking at doing right now would be to finish up anything we have to do with regards to. So what we'll finish up anything we have to do with regards to presentation. But before we leave that and go into working drawing, possibly export our works, 3D views, stuff like that. If you look at our cover page, the cover page is still kind of empty. We can render our 3D and have a complete rendering, maybe in Revit. Apply materials and then render. Most times, nowadays, many people don't render in Revit, but nevertheless, it's still not a bad thing to do if you have to deliver a work very quickly. So you can see I have cut this 3D view, and we can go a little bit and talk about how we can make presentations and renders in Revit. It's important to know that you might decide to do your presentation in any other software, but if you decide to if you decide to start it in Revit, there is no problem with that if that's what you want. So I'll go talk about applying materials very shortly, and then after applying materials, we'll talk about maybe creating renders in Revit. They may not be the best quality renders, but nevertheless, it's still something to consider if you're going to be working in Revit. So let's begin. The first thing you want to do, let's say for example, you've produced your site plan, you've had your site plan done, you've had everything you need to do done. The only thing left for you now is to begin to put in 3D renders to complete your presentation drawing. So I used mostly, initially I used maybe Lumion D5 render, 3D Max to render, but since we are in Revit, it's also important to just showcase what we can do. So the first thing I want to do is to take your camera shot. So I have an existing camera shot, but nevertheless, you might want to start with a basic one-point camera perspective. So under this home icon here, you click camera, or you can go to view, and under 3D, you click camera. But there is a shortcut here, so you can just come here, click camera. And you can start with, on the ground floor, start with a normal front elevation shot, something of this nature. Now, when you've done this, you might want to set some basic things. Under camera here on the left, we have projection type, which is perspective. We have eye elevation and target elevation. So your eye elevation is basically how tall you are standing from the building. This is 3.5. Normally it should be around, let's say 1.5. And this is a better view of taking 3D shots. I'm going to use these angles to crop it because definitely my site did not fill everywhere. ZF to zoom to fit. So it's always good to have eye elevation and target elevation at 1.5. It's better that way. It's easier to work with. And it's more realistic. So this is one. So always cut your camera shots from an eye view. So if you go to the ground floor, you pick camera. Again, let me just go through this. And let me say I want to take this shot on this section. I'll click, I don't click and drag, just click once, take the camera view, and then position it here. Now, by default, it's always showing me 3.5, maybe because of the amount of height from the ground floor, stuff like that. So I can easily just change this 3.5 to 1.5, like I said initially, which is fair. And it brings it to a very good eye view. You can use the crop extent to get the kind of image you want. All these trees, I might not need them in the renders, or even if I might need them, this is getting into the building, so I don't want that. So I can hide elements in view, something of that sort, or just, better still, I can move them out a little bit. So maybe go to the ground floor, ground side, where will I see these trees? Because they are hidden. I think this is it. Maybe just move it out a little bit and go to the 3D view. See, okay, this is better. So this is how you create your camera shots. Always keep it at eye level, makes more sense. Then if you want to edit the view, if you come to this section here, this object wheel, if you click on it, it brings out an object wheel. You can use this to orbit, even to, although clicking and dragging can still do this, to adjust the views you are working on. And most times there is no need to take a 3D shot if you don't believe the view you are showing will improve the beauty of your building, because most times in 3D shot is just to convince the client to help in communication and stuff like that. So you don't want to be giving the wrong feel of your building. So this is the first thing about cameras. Keep them at eye level. Then the second thing you want to do after that is to begin to apply the right materials for your building. There are several ways to apply materials. One is by selecting the component. One is by selecting the element, going to edit type, and going through series of boxes here, clicking edit, going into different layers of editing to edit the materials under this tab. This is kind of long. Another way to apply materials is under the Manage tab. There is a material here. You can easily edit materials here and use the Paint tool under Modify to select materials and paint. So we have the Paint tool. This is Remove Paint. If you click here, there is Paint. So you can just use the Paint tool to apply painted materials over elements. So let me start with applying different materials this first way. So on these walls here, this particular set of walls, I might want to use a different color. So you have to select the walls. If you are going to give a certain group of walls, for example, a different material, you must duplicate those walls. If not, all the exact type of walls within that section will carry that material. So first of all, you select the walls. You click on Edit Type under Properties. Then you duplicate the walls. So these walls were Sandcrete walls white, but I want to make it another color. Let me say I want to make it beige. So I might say this will not be beige. I'll rename it. First of all, I duplicate, I rename, then before I go to edit. If I go to edit before duplicating, it will still affect everything. So you must duplicate before editing. That's very important. So I will now come under Materials, click on this second tab under Structures, then click again on this small dark box here, can be white. So you can see the amount of clicking I have to do. So sometimes it's difficult. I won't lie applying materials in Revit because of all this clicking. For a newbie, it can look cumbersome. So when you come here now, you don't just get to pick any material. There are still some settings you still need to do here. So it's not fun, but let's just go through it. So let's say the materials you are looking for, you might need to search for it here. And you may see it or you may not see it. So if you see it, that's fine. All you need to do is to pick it and then apply it. If you don't see it, then you have to create a new material, which involves series of clicking, creating a new material, going to appearance, adding components. So this is the first part. Then you continue by clicking to create a new material. A default new material creates. You have to right click and rename. So let me say rename beige wall or whichever kind, and then you click OK. I put a number so that it can even come up a little bit. You can see that. So sometimes the arrangement of the materials, the way it's been in Revit, it's not so fun to work with. I would confess that. So after this, I've created a new material. I'll go to appearance, and then I'll come under this and say replace this asset, this small icon. It's going to open another box. You can imagine the number of boxes we've gone through just to apply one material. So you may want to, you'll see this and understand why a lot of people don't want to render in Revit. And maybe if I come here, then I have to search maybe wall paint. Yeah, and click OK. So, and then maybe you go through the different wall paint options that you have until you find the one you are looking for. You can still edit it anyways, but you might find the one you are looking for. Then click or double click here to apply it, that small arrow. Then you start closing and going backwards. So this is a very long process, I must say. It might be easy for somebody that knows it, but it's not easy to follow. It's not easy to follow at all. So I would say in application of materials, Revit is not very easy to work with. The second option is a little bit easier. The sense that it just involves applying a paint. So if you click on this icon, this small icon here, the shortcut is PT. It opens a dialog box. And in that dialog box, you see all the whole materials that are already existing in this project. And you'll be able to select any one from there and then use it to paint a specific wall. You don't need to change the materials of the wall. You don't need any special stuff. You just need to click and apply. That's all. So let me say, as long as that material has been created in this project, all you need to do is click, select, and apply. So I'm just going to do this for fun. I don't intend to render here. This is grass. So I'll select this grass, I'll apply it here. As grass, you see, it just applies. If I want maybe concrete, something of that nature, I can look for concrete, click and apply. I don't need to bother myself changing materials, all those things in between that I did the last time. If you are working, if you are using this method, you don't need to. So this is concrete, masonry, cast in situ. So something, I don't know all the materials I'm applying, but I'm just giving an example. The same thing with any wall at all. If I wanted to change maybe this particular wall, give it a wooden filling, just click here and apply it. So although the wall runs through, so everywhere here is wood, but you get the picture. And you may not be able to apply to model in place element. Those ones, you can't just paint them. I don't think you can just paint them good. So you need to be editing them for you to paint them. So these are two basic ways to go about materials. And after that is done, definitely you add entourage. This building doesn't have a fence line, but it's good for rendering that you do have a fence. It helps it helps block over the horizon. So let me say, for the sake of this tutorial, since I might want to render this view, I'll click on WA shortcut for wall. I'll set the height at unconnected, set the fence height to anywhere between 1.8 to 2.4 meters. And I will just run some walls here on the edge. This is just to give me this fill here so that I have a base around the building. Like I said, if you use the paint tool, let me say I'm using a dark color now. Let me just for contrast, I'm going to use this black color. I can apply this paint to, sorry. So if you have two screens, you can move that aside. Good. After this, for you to render this view, you might want to do some settings. Now, Revit basically is not a full-time rendering software, so you won't blame them. For you to render this view, you click on the render icon somewhere down here, this kettle, show rendering dialog box. If you click on it, it comes up here with the rendering dialog box. So I'm sure there's another option here to do that, possibly under view. You can see render here. You can render in cloud. You can render in Twinmotion. There is a plugin for it because I have Twinmotion. I also have a plugin for D5 for people that want to move it to D5 to render. We might look into that maybe sometime in the next class. So with this, you can have some settings. First, we have the settings for draft. We have the output resolution. You can leave it at screen since you are just doing a draft setting. The lighting, the scheme here is exterior sun only. I didn't add artificial light. It's faster that way, so just small tips. Basically, all these settings can just be left the way they are, and then you'll have a draft render by clicking on this. Now, depending on how fast your system is, this can take a couple of minutes. I'm hoping mine doesn't. There's also another way to render this that might not involve me waiting this much. Okay, so some images are missing from my render nevertheless, but it's going to render it. So this is as primitive a render as we can get right now. And then we can start from here to look at things. But like I said, you can see from here, I think some of my windows don't have the glass, material rendering application. So I've not finished applying all the materials, and some materials are looking a little bit awkward, maybe because I used the paint the wrong way and stuff like that. But I just wanted to touch on it. So the good thing about the draft is once you start working on the draft, you can see where you have some challenges and possibly fix it. So if I open the render dialog box and show the rendering, there is something odd going on here in the render. I don't know. So I might want to fix that. But draft is quite quicker. I think the roof material on this got caught up here. So now there might be an issue here. Let me tell you the issue. Maybe I mistakenly used the paint tool there. So I can go here, click on remove paint, and maybe just click here. So possibly that's what happened because it was active here. Maybe I mistakenly applied that. And then you can go back to now and create the render again. And once you've done the rendering, you can decide, okay, I don't want any clouds. You can turn on sun only. You might do some settings here for the clouds. Maybe top left, top right. You might change one or two things here. And then you might also just zoom in a little bit to reduce the size of the draft I want to create and go ahead to run a test render. So I'm just showing this basically to tell you Revit can render, but I would advise if you want to render to try other dedicated rendering softwares instead of Revit. So you can see that was the mistake that happened. I accidentally applied stuff there. But with this material application, it can help you while you are working in other softwares, because there are softwares that are basically rendering based and they don't have all these sort of materials. So these windows don't have glass materials. I just found that. So that's the good thing about draft. Once you notice, you click on the element and change it. So this particular window, under materials and finishes, you can see glass, glazing exterior. It's not a glass material, actually. It's not reflective. I can select a different glass material, apply it, and then still keep around my draft rendering and the rest till I get something fair. So even if you don't render in Revit, the application of materials in Revit is a skill to have, because some rendering softwares like Lumion, like D5 Render, these rendering softwares, they are able to recognize objects that have materials in Revit already. So I can keep playing around with this. This will come out very nice at the end of the day, but I'm sure you get the picture I'm trying to create, and I won't be able to spend all the time rendering this image here. So we'll just stop here with regards to creating these images. Another option of creating realistic views, of testing it, is by clicking under your visual shaded and using realistic material. This also will try its best to bring out, maybe not with all the rendering settings, but it will try as much as it can to bring out a realistic feel of the object. So anyway, you can still compare this one to your rendering. I think the rendering looks far better. But if you don't want to render, but you want to give somebody an idea of how things look like, and you have a good graphic display option where you can also turn on the background, either with images or gradients, stuff like that, turn on shadows. You can still have a good view to present to a client even before the job is completely done. So whenever you've done the test render, always remember that when you click on this icon and you've not made certain changes, under display you can see show rendering, although mine is inactive now, but that's also possible. So when we've done this, when we have stuff like this, we can actually export and use it as part of our cover page. So for now, I might not just export, I might just print my screen, copy it, because this is what I'm doing is I'm just snapping my screen, copying it. I can copy the image or save the image in my desktop. I can save the image somewhere and then apply it to my computer, just drag it down to my cover page. We might look, I've said this before, we might look into creating render with other softwares in this class. But for now, I just want to round up our presentation packages. So I'm just doing this. I have this here. I might do another view. I think this is okay. This other view is this fence is blocking it. I might do hiding view element, and avoid showing areas of your building that might show things that you don't want to see. This is okay. I'll just do this, go through the settings again. I put this at realistic, and then I also created a background using graphic display option. I turned on the background from none to gradient. So this is just what I did. You can export this as an image by clicking File and Export. And if you scroll down here, you can see as image and export as image. The last time I didn't do this, I just sniped it. When you're exporting as image, you can export based on pixels. Let's say if I do this at 1,500 pixels, it's going to be bigger. This is 1,200 pixels. Then I can decide where to save it to, and I'll just save it there. So there are quite just one or two settings based on image type and the rest. Applying materials in Revit is a good skill to have, as whether you render in Revit or not, you should be able to so this is me having to design my title panel. Good. So, well, everybody has their style for their title block and how it will look at the ending. I'm just trying to align mine. So this is sort of a cover page, a site plan. I didn't detail this, but I'm sure you get the point. The ground floor plans, the first floor plans, the roof plans, the elevations, the front elevation, side elevation. I added fence, so for my rendering, I really do not need them in reality, so I might just take them off. If I select one wall at an edge and press tab, it's going to select all the walls and I can delete it. So in this view and in this view, you see the fences are gone. So what I've done is I've tried to create a fair presentation drawings with this. Not as, I didn't create all the sheets, but basically all that we need is somewhere here. And then if I had done more renderings, I can add it to this work and export as PDF. So we'll do Control P, and then we'll export this file. So to export this file, you can print as PDF. In Revit 2024, there is now a dedicated export option as PDF. You don't need to print. But if you're using older Revit and you have a print to PDF, you can use it. Here, if I just click export as PDF, it's almost the same settings with things you print to PDF. It will ask you to select the views and sheets. So I can click on this icon here to select the views and sheets. Under this select views and sheets, I'm going to change this to just sheets on check. So just the sheets I want. And I'm going to export from sheet 1, cover page, down to the last sheet, which is this. So this is the only one. I'll check none first, make sure nothing is checked. And then that's all I want. So make sure you can use Shift to select multiple views. This is okay. So how do you know a work is on sheet? The name is going to start with sheet. So if you just type search sheet here, that's okay. This is fine. You can now set all your printing settings here. I want to print it out in A3. You set it as A3. Landscape, fits to page, orientation, quality, vector processing, some of all these basic settings. So this is basically it. It's already checked that you combine selected files into one view and then you export. You ask if you want to save this for future export. You might say no. So on top, you are supposed to have sorted out the location of where you are saving to. And I'll be expecting I know we've done this already, so I'm sure you've submitted already. The class rep has not sent me what you guys did last week, but I'm sure that we've submitted the work we've done last week. So I would go through it in terms of presentation and see what kind of quality of presentation we're bringing out. So it's exported to document by default. And this is what we have so far as our presentation work. I've told you how to export this kind of thing to avoid it. Unfortunately, I didn't avoid it. But this is what we have. So something like this, you can use it, send to your client, and start your presentation journey. So far so good. We've looked at how to produce presentation drawings of a duplex it's the same method for high-rise buildings. We've covered quite a few things already in Revit. And before we finish on presentation drawings, I want to look at renovation drawings. So let's say you have a renovation. How do you go about representing it in Revit? If you have a new file in Revit, I'll create a new project file. I used the wrong template. So let me cancel this and go back. File, new, project. Here I want to choose a different template. So go back. I just want a simple template I'm going to use. Okay, default metric template, fine. So let's start with It's very bad to start with a very default template. So I'm going to copy this into my new file. Good. So this is a new file I've created. I just want to show you how phasing works in Revit. Let's say you have this building. This is a wall, any size at all, and a door, and a series of windows. So let's say you have this building this way, and you want to phase them. Now, whenever you are creating a set of buildings in Revit, if you scroll down here, you see phasing. It's always by default in new construction. If you look at it here, this set of buildings are in new construction. If this building now that you've measured are on existing, let's say you are doing a renovation, this is the existing drawing. You come under this phasing, you select everything you've done here. You come under phasing, you see phase created, new construction. If you click on it, there is existing. So it's left for you to determine what is new, what is existing. So if you select everything after you've done the existing, whether it has a roof, anything, you can come to this point and change that phase created to existing. So all this will now be existing. And you see the phase filter is showing show all. If you come here and change this phase filter to show previous phase, it's going to only show what is existing. So, sorry, yes. So now, for now, I'm just going to use show all. Now you can see the existing phase is faded. If I take a new wall and create something, if I take a new wall and let me say I want to create something here. If I select this wall, it's already showing me this is a new construction. So let me say I want this wall this way. This wall is interfering. Let me say I want this wall this way, and I want this door here. This door is also a new construction. And I want to demolish this part of this wall, just this one and this one. I will use the demolish tool. You can see it here under modify, this hammer tool here. If I click on this tool, they will become demolished lines. They will become dotted lines that are demolished. The new walls are thick and the existing walls are faded. It's on show all. If I go to show complete, it's going to show me how the wall will look when it's completed under phasing. If I go to show demolition and new, it's only going to show me the walls and demolition and the new walls I'm adding. And if I go to show new, it's only going to show me the new walls I'm adding. If I go to show previous and demolition, it's going to show me the existing walls and the ones I'm demolishing. And if I come into previous plus new, it's going to show me almost the same thing as the completed work. So this phasing is the work, is the phasing that is the work that you can, this is how you use to go about, this is the way you go about your renovation works. If I put my sheets on, I can duplicate this level, duplicate the view, can duplicate with detailing. And this level 1, I can rename this to the existing floor plan. I can have, okay, no, I did not want to do that. I can rename this to, let's say, 1 existing. I can rename this one to one demolition floor plan, like the areas of walls to be demolished. I can duplicate again and rename this to, let's say, proposed. So let me rename, I'm going to add one, sorry. So in doing a renovation, you need all these various floor plans. So if I come to sheets, for example, I'll bring in my existing plan. Sorry, I want to hide all this view. We already know how to do this, or crop the view to be smaller. So this is the existing plan. You can bring in the demolition plan inside. So and then we can have the proposed plan here too. So we have these three plans, and all I need to do, if I activate this, under the phasing here, I'm going to show previous phase and apply. So this is the previous phase. This is the demolition phase. So I'm going to show previous and demolition phase, and I'll apply. So this previous phase, I'm missing something, existing. Undo. Okay, so under this phase, sorry, I made a mistake initially. Under the phase is existing, and under the filter, I'm going to show complete, because I was wondering why the demolition wall is not showing in the previous phase, which is wrong. So previous phase is the phase after the demolition before you start adding the new wall. So this is existing. I did the right phase. Phase is in existing. I showed the complete existing. Then this phase now, I'm showing it in, I should show it also in existing, and I'm showing demolition. Okay, I'm going to show it in new construction. So in new construction, I'm going to show previous / demolition. So this is going to show me the previous phase and the demolition required. And here, I'm already showing the completed work, and I'm showing it in the new construction phase. So this is the same plan, this is the same drawings, but you can see the different phases from existing to demolition to proposed. So if you ever have a renovation work, you don't need to do 3 different plans. You work from the existing, you just phase your works properly, and then you use the views to do that phasing. So I just wanted to share this and then show you guys how we rounded up our presentation floor plans and designs. We will use that presentation plans to start our working drawings, and this is where I want us to pay very good attention. But before then, we may also, I don't know if it's necessary, but we also look at anyway, if we're going to learn any rendering software, we can do that next semester. But for now, let's see how we can produce good working drawings using Revit. You might not be the greatest expert in it, but arranging your views, arranging your view templates and stuff like that, and making sure that everything is done properly, we would look into that carefully next week. setting up your views for working drawings, and then producing good working drawings. So we'll stop here for today. I'm going to look at the works you've done so far. I would like you to practice application of materials with regards to what we've learned in Revit, the two methods. I concede that the first method is cumbersome because of the amount of times you have to click even to just get to choosing the materials and the amount of options to edit the materials. There are other softwares that are easier, but it's good to know beforehand what kind of materials you're applying at some places, so that when you go to the other software, all your components don't just become one material and it's difficult to work with. So you will need to break your exteriors into different materials. So we'll stop here for today. We've started this since first semester, started this modeling from draft. We've gotten to this point, and so far so good. We are making good progress. Next week, before we go into working drawings, next week we need to have produced a good and complete presentation drawings of this project that we have. I might send you a sample, if I can, of what the presentation drawing looks like in Revit, and see how many of us can try to replicate that. So thanks for your time. Any question? I guess none. You can watch this video later on, go through what we've gone through, especially with regards to the renovation drawings in Revit. I'll have to rename this video because we did material application too, and see what we can get out. So thanks. Class rep, I can only see how many people in class now, 31 people. So attendance seems poor compared to the number of people I'm thinking should be attending class. So we might have a physical class, maybe with a class exercise, maybe in the next 2 weeks, so that I will know how many people have been following in class. But if you know you have not been attending, it's clear to see that in the chat box that you've not been attending. If you are watching with someone, you can put that in the chat box that me and this person we are together. That will enable me know if 3 or 4 people are using the same system. Okay, Baby Raphael said about 3 of them are using the same system. Fine, that's better if there are more than one person. But there is no need to lie about it anyways, because it won't help them. So thanks for your time. I will catch you next week. So for this week, if you have finished your presentation drawing properly, the one you've submitted, I'm okay with it, fine. For this week, I just want you to practice this material application. Also, practice phasing for renovation drawings. Just like what I've done, try and see if you can recreate it. That should be an assignment. It can be one sheet, but practice the phasing for the renovation drawings. You can use any kind of drawing, any example of the drawing. Just, you can use that and practice, and then let's see what you can come up with. All right. I don't think there's any question. People are just putting in their names, and I don't have anything to do with your name. We better make sure that you know what I'm teaching. All these ones are. It's important to attend class. Class rep, please take a breakdown of the attendance from the chats, from the live chats. But I don't think we had more than 40 people, or maybe 30. If you're showing 30 something now, I don't think we have more than 40 people in total. We might have to have a physical class, if not next week, upper week, so that we can be sure of our attendance levels. So thanks, and have a nice day.